Welcome to the Friendly Aussie Podcast.
As you may have guessed from the title, this episode of the Friendly Aussie Podcast is an interview with Jenny Hallam. Very well-known medicinal cannabis advocate in Australia. She made headlines primarily through providing cannabis oil, medicinal cannabis oil, to chronically ill patients. And after an exhausting legal battle, she's been let off with no conviction, which is great. So yeah, the first podcast of the decade for us will be a conversation with Jenny Hallam. Really exciting.
Yeah, which brand's that?
This is the stores in Bickle.
Okay.
About the people who make volcanoes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so this is by far the
I've
best.
given up on vapes, to be quite honest.
Have ya?
Yeah, I
Nah, I'm
used to
straight
use a
vape.
vape all the time, and I just got fucking sick of it. I ended up coughing more off a vape than I do off just straight weed.
What you need to do is I have an attachment where I can plug this into a bong and then I can filter it with the water so you get that like coolness.
Yeah,
and
but
it
I don't
also
know.
gives it
But
that moisture.
I shouldn't get that. Like I've got a fucking throat like a fucking like.
Oh
you know.
yeah, because you're saying you don't cough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it shouldn't
yeah.
like to me it worries me that there's obviously it's taking it to a temperature where my throat isn't liking it or something in my body isn't liking it. Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot drier.
Yeah.
That's what I find. I cough when my throat gets really dry because it gets scratchier.
I don't know, but it's only on vapes that I tend to do it, and like tend to do it with these as well. Like anything that really heats it up to a temperature more than just your lighter does.
Well, no, this is less than a lighter. This is 180.
Oh, is
Lighter
it?
is more. This is only
Okay.
going to 180.
Okay, a lot of people heat theirs to a lot more than that.
Like the most you can go up to, I think, is 210.
Okay.
Maybe 220.
Yeah, most people I know have theirs over 2.
No, I like mine 185, 190. I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable.
I used
there.
to start with my Ascent. I used to start at I think it was at 182. I'd started at.
That's what I start at.
And I would smoke it all out at 182 because you get different stuff off different levels. So I would
Yeah.
smoke it all out at 182, then I'd raise it up to about 187 or something like that, and then I'd take it to 192 or something,
Yeah,
and
and
I'd
you
smoke
just-
it, and you
can
re-smoke it
feel
over again because you get different stuff out of it at different temperatures.
Wow.
So
Yeah, no, that's
and
true.
then
There's a really...
and then the leftover shit you use for oil because you still extract your oil out of it.
Yep.
I normally make butter with mine.
Yeah, butter oil.
There's
by the
so
way.
many applications to that.
Yeah,
Or
a lot of
even,
people waste their
peanut butter
shit.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it's good. You can just sprinkle it in.
Well, it's the same with the coconut oil. When I make the coconut
Yeah.
oil and you have the leftover plant matter, people chuck that away. It's like, fuck no, you put that in capsules and you use that. That's like just as good as the oil, if not better. So
That makes sense. I've quit my job to go into Canada full time with the digital agency. I leave in like January, and I'm looking to set up a bit of a cooperative workspace to have people kind of come and work. It could be not relating to Canada, but
Yep.
I want to encourage people around the Canada scene to come
That's a great
together
idea.
and kind of do some shit.
yeah, because that's what we need. We need to bring people together and talk, and that's when we come up with the best ideas.
Yeah, looking at that, and then I know Christian. Do you know Green Dolphin?
Oh, and yeah.
He ran Vape Fuse as well. He's a really good dude. We're looking at maybe setting up some sort of like cannabis events, like kind of around more. It would be more around the business side, where we're trying to get businesses to come and network together, and then share seminars and things like that. But the idea would be that networking could actually do that flow-on effect. The idea I've got, because I told you about my startup better letters, what I wanted is if I had all of these businesses that are retail fronts and whatnot, give them flyers to include in everything they send to direct them to like write to your MP, and just try and fill the mailboxes of the MPs to the point where they can't read their normal mail.
Yeah, that's how we annoy them. Like
sure.
what we used to do is like, because we realised that emails were just getting ignored.
Yeah.
But faxes were pissing them off because they had
They
to,
just come in.
because they were just coming
Yeah.
through, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
using their paper, and they were having to redo their paper and
Yep.
stuff like that. So
That's amazing.
that was what annoyed them was the faxes. So
That's interesting because that really does tie into what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for
if we
sure.
faxed them, it was really pissing them off, and so that's what we did. Cool. Yeah, that's great. But that's how you work. That's how you get them. Is like you give them more work to do.
Yeah.
Like emails are nothing. Emails
Yeah,
are
exactly. You
just
just
delete.
So think about what's
But
gonna
when you've got to
disrupt.
tear the paper off,
Yeah.
file that, or put that, because then that has to go somewhere. You can't just delete that. You know, that has to actually be officially filed somewhere.
Sure.
And then you have to replace the paper because the paper keeps running out. So if you've got 100 faxes come through in one day when you normally get 2, and you're having to constantly go and redo the paper and shit like that, that gets annoying. And I can guarantee that when the assistants are pissed off, that gets back into the ears of the actual MPs and
yeah.
the politicians and that themselves, because that means that they're not able to do the other work that they want them to do. So they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to, write that letter you wanted me to do because I was too busy, getting the faxes off the fucking fax machine that all these cannabis people are sending us. So that's how you do it. You got to be smart.
That's why I built the whole letter thing. The only thing that I've had is every time like I've tried to approach a few organizations, I need to do it more, but they're like, but you're making money off this, and I'm like, a little.
It's
right?
okay to make some money.
That's what I've been saying.
Like everyone, like this is what shits me. It's like I've lost everything. I've got no money left, and people still think that I should be doing everything for nothing.
Yeah.
And I've had two different big corporations, like big companies, say to me that they would like me to set up a non-for-profit to raise money to get cannabis legalised, because there's so much we could do if we had the money, like commercials, TV commercials, like public service announcements, stuff like that, to change people's, like re-educate people about cannabis, billboards, things like that, massive advertising campaigns and that sort of stuff. But we can also, and this is what people don't realise, we can also pay for our own clinical trials. So we don't have to wait for the government to do clinical trials. If we can get enough bucks together, we can do our own clinical trials on different things, and we can fuck them over ourselves. But we need the money behind us. So all these guys have sort of said to me, well, start up a non-for-profit, get people to donate money and stuff like that. But they've all suggested, because to do that is going to be a big thing, that with these non-for-profits, you like the person running it takes a wage out of it.
Yeah, that's what's...
And I said to him, like, I could never do that, because I've got enough people that give me shit, like just for the raising the money I did for my legal fees. It was like 25 grand. And I've had these dickheads going around saying that I used it for going on holidays and shit like that, which is all a load of shit. Like, if anyone can show a picture of any fucking holiday I've been on in the last 3 years, then go for it. But I certainly haven't. The only thing I've been to are cannabis events, which is work. And people don't understand that. They all seem to think that that's fun and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it might be for a lot of people that go to these things, because they go and party and stuff like that. For me, it's work, because I get hundreds of people that talk to me at these events. So most people go, and even if you've got a booth and stuff like that, you might speak to a fair few people, but you speak to those people sort of during the day. And then I get masses of messages during the night, and then I get people that bump into me, and I'm still working, like, because they're not just talking to me about, hey, how's your day been, what's going on, stuff. They're talking to me about, how do I treat this, and what do I do for this, and can you help me with oil, and and so it never fucking stops for me. Like, people, literally, my phone is going 24 hours a day, because I get international people messaging me asking for advice and shit like that as well. So my phone is constantly going. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I've got some ideas here. Yeah,
it's exhausting. But people think that I've got to do it all for nothing. Like, I can't even charge. If I charge for consults, people get shitty. Like, other people charge $100 an hour for a consult, and that's just fucking fine and dandy. But if I say that I'm going to charge for a consult, it's like, oh, but you're not supposed to charge. You're Jenny Hallam. And it's like, no. Yes, I'm Jenny Hallam. Yes, all right, yes, I'm Jenny Hallam. But it doesn't mean that everything I do from now on I have to do for free.
Yeah, true.
Yes, I was the compassionate healer that did help people for nothing, but I can't live on air.
True.
Yeah, no, that's what's happened. Your branding basically became, you're the person who will help people for free.
Yeah, and now everyone expects
it's just
that.
Stuck.
Yeah.
I've got some ideas on what we can do. What I think you were talking about building a website just before with me when we were off air. But the idea that I have is, we need to take literally all of the knowledge you have, turn it into text, video, and audio.
Yeah.
Right? This is what we do at Friendly Aussie
out.
Buds. So, like, it's kind of weird to say because we've only been around for a year and a half, but factually this is correct. We're Australia's largest cannabis publication, and that's because we're the only people that are writing content that aren't the mainstream media. Everyone else is just resharing the other mainstream media. Like, that's all we see. We've been trying to do our own research, but we're not experts. We're just two stoners that like weed enough to write about it and are motivated enough to do something.
Essentially.
Like, so
Regularly.
we've been trying to put out info. So, like, I did like a big grow guide on how to grow and like where you buy everything, but it's obviously for when it's legal, because we don't want people doing that now. No.
Of course not. We don't want to promote people doing anything illegal. Of course not.
We try and put out like helpful resources, like
harm minimization and reduction. All different kinds of stuff.
Mitch put up an article yesterday talking about the problems he's had with everyday cannabis use. The problem I have with this community as a whole is like, nothing's wrong with weed, man. And it's like, there are very many things wrong with weed.
And if we can't acknowledge that, it won't be legalized. I mean,
we have to acknowledge the problems that it has for people so we can help with that harm minimization.
Exactly.
Like, you can't just keep denying this.
Exactly. If we deny it and don't admit that there are issues with certain things, then that's going to cause problems in the future. Like, a lot of people don't realise, they say, okay, you can use cannabis oil to cure cancer. Yep, you sure can, but you can also kill people with cannabis oil if you do it the wrong way.
Correct.
Because if you kill cancer too quickly, it
would kill other cells?
The dying cancer cells go through the liver, so the toxins from the dying cancer cells go through the liver, and it just overdoses the liver, and you can kill a person by just destroying their liver. Wow. And many people have done that. And there was a clinic, a cancer clinic over in China or something that started using it, and they did that. They did it too quickly and killed a few people, and it's very frustrating because one of them was a person that I'd been helping and helping very effectively. He went over there for the very last little bit of it and they killed him pretty much.
Jeez.
So it's very frustrating, and a lot of people don't know that, and that's why, like a lot of people sort of say that, I get down on some of the other black market suppliers and oil makers and that like that and whatever, but I have to, because there's a lot of people out there doing stupid shit that don't know what they're doing. So if you're making oil and you're giving it to people to help them, but you've researched it, what you're doing, you've tested your oil somehow somewhere to know what it's, and you're doing it the same every time. Like I knew mine was the same because I made it exactly the same every time. It was grown exactly the same every time. I made it the same way every time.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was pretty consistent, and I had it tested like quite a few times, and every time the test came back consistent every time. So if you're doing that and you've done a lot of research, you know your patients, you've done an extreme amount of research on their individual medical conditions, the other medications they're taking, because other medications interact with cannabis. A lot of people don't realise that. Like there's a lot of people, especially elderly people, that are on blood thinners, like warfarin, and cannabis also thins the blood. So if you give them cannabis while they're taking warfarin, you can thin their blood too much and you can make them bleed out.
Cannabis can increase and modulate the heart rate since it works on the endocannabinoid system. It modulates all different kinds of systems.
There's a lot of different ways it can interact with medications. There's a lot of medication it interacts with, like steroids. There's a lot of the epilepsy medications it interacts with. Okay. So if you don't know that and you're just pissing around with people's lives because you want to make a bit of money, that's what I'm getting angry at. Sure. So I don't mind the healers out there that have done their research, that have come to people like me or to other experienced healers and asked for advice and said, okay, what do we do? How do we go about this? And a lot of people have done that, and I'm always happy to give advice to new healers. And I would rather them come to me and bother me, because a lot of people say, well, we don't want to bother you. It's like, no, bother me, please. I would rather you bother me than kill somebody, because that's what we're scared of. Because at the moment, there have been no deaths from cannabis. But if somebody does something stupid one day, which somebody almost did, and had killed somebody, then that will change that forever. And we'll never, ever be able to go back again and say cannabis doesn't kill anybody. Because like I said, yes, cannabis might not be able to kill somebody, but the interactions with other things can. And so one day they might attribute that to cannabis if they figure that out. Do you know what I mean? So we have to be extremely careful with what we do. And we're taking people's lives in their hands. You can't be messing around. Like a lot of people don't realise with cancers that there are there's a couple of different types of cancers. There's hormonal cancers and there's normal cancers.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if you treat a hormonal cancer the way you treat a normal cancer, you will kill the person. Yeah. Because you just speed it up. So hormonal cancer, like normal cancers, you treat with, say, 3-to-1 THC CBD. So 3 THC to 1 CBD. Hormonal cancers need to be treated the opposite way around. So 3 CBD to 1 THC, because too much THC makes the cancer grow.
It'll just accelerate. Wow.
And you accelerate it and you kill the person. And I know many so-called healers that have done that. And I've got the patient literally a week or so before they've died, just to give them palliative care to try and to halt it, but you can't. It's too late. And so, yes, cannabis might not be able to kill people, but the people helping people with cannabis can kill people.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I get so angry, and that's why I try so hard to stop a few people. And there's, a few people that I have had to go after in the past that I've been threatened by, and, they've thrown little fits and, carried on for months and months and months over. And it's like, well, look, do the right thing and you won't have me bothering you. That's what it comes down to. Don't lie, don't deceive, don't bullshit people, and don't make shit oil, and you don't have to worry about Jenny Hallam.
You put it here first, I guess.
Where did you get your knowledge from?
A lot of research and talking to a lot of people that have been doing it.
Yeah.
But a lot of research. I read a lot of stuff. I read all the Rip Simpson stuff, all his stuff. And when you look into something in detail, that's when if you're looking into it hard enough, you will find the faults if there are any. So when I was looking into the Rick Simpson method, when it was around, like all the videos and that he had around at the time that I started doing it, he was doing it in a rice cooker, a Teflon rice cooker.
Teflon's the problem.
And I looked at it straight away and I thought, holy shit, you're going to kill people because Teflon causes cancer.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was defeating the purpose, basically. He was making this oil to save people, but he was cooking it in Teflon and it was dangerous. So straight away I realised, okay, well, he might have some good ideas, but he's not fucking perfect, excuse me. But that's the thing. And so I looked at other things and other way people doing it. I thought, no, that's not right. We shouldn't do that, or we should do this, and researched it more and then found better ways to do it. And so I don't use a rice cooker, or didn't use a rice cooker. I would use just an induction cooktop, so they're basically like an electric cooktop that you just plug in, no flame, and a stainless steel saucepan. So when I'm doing oil, I will only use stainless steel or glass, like Pyrex.
Yep. Well, that's your lab.
Yeah, no plastics. You can use wooden spoons and stuff like that, but no plastics or anything like that, because that just leaches in. No Teflon. And so as I was doing it, I realised, oh shit, there were some ways that weren't right and they shouldn't have done this, and found ways to make it better. And when I first came on the scene, there was no coconut oil. No one was doing coconut oil. They were just doing the FECOs, the full extract cannabis oils and tinctures and shit like that.
Yeah.
And
butter.
No, butters, that was more, not for, this is medical I'm talking about.
Yep.
That butter was really only being done for rec.
Okay, yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, the only thing that was really being used for medical when I first came on the scene was just tinctures and just full FECOs.
Yeah. When did you come on the scene, and what really brought you into it? Like, what was the...
I was sick.
Main draw.
Like, I was really, really sick.
Yeah.
I've got a body-wide chronic pain condition, fibromyalgia, chronic nerve damage. I've got a 6 out of 10 resting pain level.
Wow.
Like, body-wide.
Yeah.
Like, my whole body's in pain all the time. So 6 out of 10 just when I wake up in the morning, but by the time I move around and do shit, it's like 8. So I'm sitting at about an 8.5 at the moment, just from doing stuff today. And it was from 6 car accidents. None of which were my fault. None were my fault. I'm not a bad driver. I am now. I'm an aggressive fucking driver now. But yeah, I was rear-ended 3 times while I was stationary, hit from the side, hit from the front, and then I had a 40-foot pine tree just drop on my car while I was driving along in a storm one day.
Which suburbs did this all happen in?
In all different places.
Everywhere
all
differently.
different places. And over a period of about 15 years.
Yeah.
And just made it worse and worse and worse. And I just thought, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, I thought...
Cosmic joke.
Like, it was just... I had the worst luck. Like, just the worst luck. And like I said, they weren't my fault. Like, 3 of them, I was just sitting there minding my own business, and someone goes slam up behind you. It's like, you can't avoid that. Like, to have a tree, like, not just a branch. I'm not talking just a branch.
Tree.
A whole 40-foot pine tree that just the whole root ball pulled out, because it was a massive storm. So the whole root ball pulled out of the ground, and the whole tree, like, it literally, like, lifted up and just, like, hovered in front of me for a couple of seconds and then just dropped on top of me and then just rolled over top of my car.
That it didn't kill you is pretty
miraculous. I can't fucking... Well, it was the weirdest thing. I don't talk about this very often, but something very strange happened that day.
Yeah.
I was on the way to my grandfather's funeral. It was on Halloween.
Wow.
And it was a massive storm.
No way.
And as the tree fell on me, or as the tree started to fall, my grandfather, the dead one, screamed in my ear, "Get in the other lane and jam on your brakes."
What?
Right?
Oh.
All right.
And like I always did, like he was like a second father to me. So what he said, I did. So when I heard his voice and he was yelling at me like that, it was like, fuck. And so I immediately turned my wheel, jagged it to the right and tried to hit the brakes. Now, this is where it gets fucking weird, right? Now, just before the tree hit me, I was trying to hit the brakes, but I couldn't get to I didn't have time. So as I bring my leg up, go to hit the brakes, before I could hit the brakes, my foot misses them because my seat has slid backwards, like gone flying backwards and clicked in at the very, because I'm short as fuck, right? So my seat is pushed as far as it can get forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it unclicked and went back and clicked into the back position and stayed there. So I couldn't reach the brakes, but my car stopped. And so as the tree hit, it was the very top part of the tree that hit me, not the bottom. Because if I'd stayed in the other lane, it would have been the bottom. It was a pine tree, right? So it would have been the bottom part of the tree, longer branches. They would have skewered straight through the windscreen and straight through me, right? Through my body, basically. Instead, it was the top part, because I got into the other lane and I was like not only in the other lane, but I was almost off the road. I was that far off. So then it was the very, very top part of the tree that hit me, which were the soft little top ones, and that smashed the windscreen in and pushed the windscreen right in, but it didn't go through the windscreen.
Wow.
And then the car stopped, and if I hadn't stopped where I was heading straight towards another standing tree, because I was veered off the road and I was heading off the road to the side, and there was another tree right there, and I was about to hit that head on. So even though the tree had rolled over me, squashed fucking the car and rolled and landed behind the car, blocked the whole, like it was a country road, blocked the whole road across for both fences. So a farmer had to come and cut the tree up just so to get the ambulance through, because we couldn't couldn't even get around a tree. You couldn't drive into a paddock or anything. It was just like completely covering across the fence lines. So they had to cut it up. It was a massive fucking tree, like massive. There's a line of like 20 of them. And there was a bushfire that went through, and I was thinking, yeah, and it wiped everything else out. And I'm driving up there, and everything was gone. All the other trees were gone. And I'm thinking, yes, fucking yes, yes. Because every time I drove past those trees, it would remind me of it. Because like there was one missing, and that was the tree that hit me. And my fucking God, they survived. They were the only trees that survived that. It was like a massive bushfire that wiped out like hundreds of kilometres. It was like really bad, and those fucking trees survived.
You reckon they're cursed?
Oh, I don't know, but I'm going to sue the bastards if they fall again. I'm going to sue the bastards.
I don't know.
But that was the weirdest thing. And like when I went back, I had to go back to the car afterwards to get some stuff out of it and shit. And I just had this weird feeling about what happened that day because I couldn't, the memory of it was like really, it was fucked, and I couldn't remember if I was remembering right and stuff like that. And I thought, like, where was my seat? And I thought, did my seat really click back like that? And am I just imagining that and shit like that? Now I had virtually no injuries, right? I was shaking the shit out of me, and I had like soft tissue injuries just from the whiplash and stuff like that, but I had no broken bones, no nothing, no fucking, like I could have been decapitated the way that fucking tree, the size of that tree, if that had gone through the windows, right? And I've seen other people that have had the similar sort of accidents and they did not go well, right? Anyway, so I went back to the car, I got in the car in the front seat, and it was all the way back, and I thought, well, maybe the ambulance did that when they were trying to get me out, because they had to like cut some of the car out and then to get me out and that. And I thought maybe that was just like from them. And then I thought, okay. So I put the seat forward to the position I would normally sit in, and I couldn't because the windscreen had smashed in that far that if I'd been sitting where I would normally have sat, it would have smashed in my face.
Oh.
So the seat going backwards meant that it didn't smash my face in.
Yeah.
So it was like the weirdest thing. So he did what I needed to save me. So he got me in the other lane so the trees didn't skewer through the windscreen, and he pushed the seat back so that it didn't smash my face in.
Wow. That's pretty synchronous.
He missed his own funeral to save you.
And the weirdest thing was, the night before that, I'd had a dream that I was going to be at the funeral in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I thought, that's fucking freaky, right? At the moment, the funeral was due to start at 2:00, right? And I was trying desperately still to get to the funeral. I'm like, fucking get me out of this fucking ambulance. I was strapped down, fucking had to have all the fucking, like, the scans and all that sort of shit. And I'm like, this is going to start soon. Like, hurry up, I can still make it. And they're like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like, you're strapped to a board. You're not going to your fucking funeral, And I'm like, I can still make it. And,
what a day.
At the
Did
moment,
you make it?
no. Oh, I made it to the very end part of it.
Yeah.
Like the wake when everyone was just standing around, but I was a fucking mess. But at the moment that the actual thing started at 2 p.m, I was being wheeled out of X-ray in a wheelchair. I looked up and there's a clock and it's 2 p.m, the time that the thing's starting, and I'm being wheeled out of the wheelchair in the X-ray room in a wheelchair. And I'm thinking, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah,
makes you think about time.
And I don't talk like I don't think I've ever talked about that publicly. That story, but yeah, that was
intense.
And like I always thought when I was younger, I'd always had a feeling I was going to die young. You know how you just sort of feel like you just can't imagine yourself getting old or something like that. And after that accident, that went away, and it was like, I'm going to get old now. So it was like, I don't know, someone knew that I had something to do still.
Well, to me, like 6 car accidents and then it pushed you into a certain area to help people is very cosmic.
Well, see, and the thing is, because of the amount of pain that I went through, and for so long, like my first accident was when I was 20 years old. Wow. So I'm like 40, well, I was about 44 or 43 or something when I first started doing it myself.
Yep.
So that had been like 23 years of like full-on pain and horrific sort of shit.
Yeah.
Like pain spasms and...
How did you manage the pain prior to cannabis?
Oh, fuck. I didn't.
You didn't?
Like, there would be days I'd just be screaming, literally just lying in bed screaming, because you just can't. You don't know how you're possibly going to live through it. And I was dying. Like, they had me on morphine, endone, Lyrica. I went through every single antidepressant that was on the market at the time. So back in 1997, I'd gone through every single antidepressant that was on the market at the time. Yeah. And they got to the last one and they said, how's that one? And I went, yeah, that one works. That one works. Just because they'd said next were going to be all the like really big like psychiatric drugs, not just the antidepressants. It was like the heavy shit, like the lithiums and all that sort of shit. And I was like, nah, you're not fucking doing that to me. Like, because they were just using me as a guinea pig. I was at the pain unit.
Yeah.
And they were just using me as a guinea pig. Like, it would be a new registrar that would come through and see you every year, and they wanted to be the new saviour. They wanted to come up with a new drug that was going to fucking help everybody and shit like that.
Yeah.
So they would just try you out on all these drugs, and they wouldn't give a shit what it did to you. You know, they didn't care. And I'd be sitting there bawling, going, I don't want to try another one. And they'd be like, it doesn't matter. We don't care what you want. You need to try these things. You know, if you don't try them, you're never going to know if they work or not.
That's torture.
You know, it was. What they did to me, like, was torture. I had my first car accident was SGIC, which is a state government insurance agency, and WorkCover, because it was a car accident while I was working.
Yeah, right.
And they tortured me. And I found out afterwards that the WorkCover employees are told to try and stress everybody out as much as possible to either make you suicide or make you say, fuck it, I don't want the money, just leave me alone.
Right. That makes sense.
And a lot of people will do that. Mm-hmm. And I nearly did. And I took $60,000. That was the first payout that was offered to me, $60,000. And I took it because I was going to go fucking mental, because I was going bankrupt. We had no money. The bills were just mounting up.
Yeah.
And they were torturing me because they were saying that there was nothing wrong with me. It was all in my head. And that as soon as I got my payout, the pain would all just go away mysteriously, right?
Oh,
so basically, I'm just making it up.
Yeah.
Right? And I was literally dying. I got down to 38 kilos. From all those drugs that they put me on, I got down to 38 kilos. I should have been 60. And I got down to 38 kilos and I was dying. My organs were about to shut down. My doctor did not know what to do.
Yeah.
And I was basically just waiting to die.
Wow.
And I'd used cannabis when I was younger, but my sister had a bad meth problem, and I'd had to take her daughter away for a little while to look after her until my sister got herself sorted out. And my ex-husband and I both used weed, but we thought, we can't take my niece away from her mum for using a drug, and we're using what she would consider is a drug, right? So it's like, okay, we've got to give it up, make sure we're completely clean, and so we did. And I didn't realise it was a medicine. Like, I just thought I was using it recreationally, and it was just something like, I did that instead of drinking.
Sure.
And it wasn't until afterwards that I realised, shit, this is a medicine. It was like I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker.
How long did that take for you to realise?
I was off it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then a mate came over, and I was just so bad. And he came over and he had some. And he goes, come on, Jen, just have some. You know, like, because she'd gone back to her mum by then. She'd been gone for like a year or something. And I just hadn't been bothered because it was harder to get because I lived out in the country, so it was a hassle to go and get it and shit like that. So I just hadn't bothered. And like I said, hadn't realised. And so some mates come over and they had some and just said, hey, you want a cone? And it was like, oh, fuck it. Like, I'm going to die anyway. Who gives a shit, you know? And so I was like, yeah, fuck it. Just give it to me. And so I had a cone, and it was like, and I hadn't been able to eat, like, no shit. I hadn't been able to eat a meal in 2.5, 3 years at least.
Oh, my God.
I could eat maybe a portion, I don't know, it's hard to show, the size of like a sticky tape roll container, like a sticky tape roll. Nothing more than about that of food. And then I would probably vomit most of it up. And just be so sick and so nauseous and stuff like that. And it wasn't that I didn't want to eat wasn't trying to eat. I would try and eat and it would just come straight back up.
Yeah.
Or you would just get so constipated from all the medications that you would literally, like, well, not you, because didn't happen to other people, happened to me. I would literally have to get hospitalised because I was just so chocker that I would start throwing up shit, basically. And the doctors didn't believe me at first. They were like, oh no, this can't be possible. You must have Mediterranean fever. Like, this is the only thing it could be. And it's like, I've never been to the Mediterranean, and you can only get Mediterranean fever from the Mediterranean. And then he sort of went, oh shit, okay then, well, I don't know what else it could be. And I'm like, it's my fucking shit coming back up, you idiot. And then he was like, oh, I don't know, just, you know, we've seen some horrible things before, but, you know, it can't be as bad as what you reckon. And then I vomited, and I literally had nurses running out the room and, like, freaking the shit out. And then it was like, okay, yep, you've literally got shit coming out your mouth. Like, you are literally, it had nowhere to go. It was coming back up. My bile duct was blocked. It was just fucking horrific. And they would just have to hospitalise me and like put me on drips and shit like that until everything just started going through again. And then I'd go home again and then wait till I got chocked up again the next time. It was fucking disgusting.
Yeah,
and that's what those drugs were doing. That's what they do to...
Such a lack of duty of care.
There are hundreds of thousands of people out there right now in Australia that are going through exactly the same thing. They're having exactly the same fucking side effects from those drugs, that will know exactly what I'm talking about, that won't talk about it because it's so fucking embarrassing, and I don't usually talk about this shit. So it's so fucking embarrassing that people don't talk about it because they don't want to have to talk about the fact they've thrown up their own shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you don't think that's possible. But once you've got that blocked up, and literally, like, I would only go to the toilet probably once every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Sometimes 3 weeks. if I was lucky. And that was using something like a thing called Actilax I used at the time because lactatives wouldn't work. So it was a lactulose solution that I would use. And it would like take 3 weeks for it to actually get through my system, and it would normally take overnight. Like, this is how bad these pharmaceutical drugs are, and they are killing people on a daily basis.
Yeah. We should make an article about like something like, are you shitting out of your mouth? Like, get those keywords, because if people are Googling that, right?
Yeah.
And then we can, because what we do is we rank our articles up in Google. That's why we've gotten to such a level of success. But we could put that up, and then we can go, are you consuming any of these pharmaceuticals? Let us know. But also, consider using this as a healing option.
Yeah.
And then
also the other thing is, like, when they give you a cocktail of drugs,
Yeah.
that's the other thing, like, because you read the side effect of a drug and it's like, okay, it says this, but it doesn't say this, or this, and that's what I'm getting. And it's like, no, because you don't know what happens when you put those drugs together. And there are a lot of drugs that doctors aren't supposed to prescribe together.
So true.
But they do.
Yep.
And on regular occasions, the pharmacist has to pick it up and say, well, hang on a minute, you're not really supposed to have these ones together. And they'll have to ring the doctor and say, did you mean to do that? And it's like, the doctor's like, oh shit, aren't I supposed to put those together? And it's like, holy fuck, you know, you should know this shit.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. This is what shit me. Like, I would have a lot of people say to me, you're not a doctor, you shouldn't have done it, you don't have a medical degree. But I would know more about my patients than most of the doctors did. Like, I would know what drug interactions there were between their drugs, not only the cannabis that I was going to use, but the drugs that they were using. And a lot of the time I would pick up like faults with their drugs and stuff like that they were doing. And I'd say to the people, hang on a minute, you need to go back to your doctor and say, like, these shouldn't be used together. And even the pharmacist didn't pick up some of them.
Yeah.
You know, and this used to really shit me. And it's like, but people would say, oh no, you haven't got a medical degree. And it's like, well, I've just proven you don't need a medical degree to heal people with cannabis.
Straight up.
Because, like, if we've got naturopaths and shit like that can use other herbs and stuff like that and can make other
My mum's
concoctions.
kinesiologist,
Yeah,
so
and they can make other
energy healer.
concoctions out of other herbs. Why can't they use cannabis as another one of the things
Straight up.
in their arsenal?
Yep.
You know, why do we have to have a medical degree to use a fucking plant? Do you know what I mean? And I mean, it's only when they start putting it in pills and potions and shit like that it becomes, you know, something that a doctor then has to prescribe, because then it's chemicals and, well, not chemicals, but then it's, you know, you're getting technical and you have to go by levels and shit like that. It's a product then, yeah. But if you just let people grow it in their own backyard and make their own oils and shit like that, we don't have to worry about any of that shit.
What's really weird about, like, the way that modern medical science goes about, or I guess medicine in general goes about treating people, is in a very, like, broad brush general way. There's these ideas, or there's an idea that you can just sort of increase the dosage or add this drug to this drug, but the reality is that everyone's, like, neurochemistry, everyone's body is different. It's unique.
We're all made up with lots of little chemicals and different levels of different chemicals, and so different things affect us. And it was something that we were talking about earlier when we were talking about smelling cannabis.
Yep.
And I was sort of saying about how that's how, when you go to the dispensaries overseas, that's how they get you to pick what strain you want. They'll just get you to smell a whole lot of different jars. They give you a jar and open it up and get you to smell it. The ones that smell good to you are the ones that you need. There's something in there that your body's craving and you need. But if it smells crap to you, that means it's something that your body either doesn't need or shouldn't have. So there's a lot of people that sometimes get, you know, different issues from smoking cannabis, sometimes psychological issues, and some people can freak out a little bit, get anxiety off of different strains, and that's obviously a strain that's a problem for you. And it's not the fact that cannabis does this to you, it's the strain of cannabis that's doing that to you. So some people can smoke majority of strains, no worries, and there might be just one strain that just freaks the shit out of them for some reason, and we'll figure that out soon, because they're starting to do all the gene mapping and stuff like that in America, so we'll be able to start using that for cannabis as well soon.
There's a real lack of accuracy, I just think, as the, you know, medicinal and recreational scenes tend to overlap. There's a real lack of accuracy in the recreational scene when it comes to potency and dosage.
Oh, definitely. And it's like, it's really hard because there's so many different products around and so many different people making products, and yeah, it's a bit hard sort of keeping track of things sometimes, but I think if we can regulate the market a little bit, we can start controlling that sort of stuff a little bit more. And
we agree.
I'm wondering, how would you break up your recreational cannabis to your medicinal cannabis?
What do you mean?
Well, do you see there as a big difference?
There's no difference.
That's what I believe.
There's absolutely no difference between recreational cannabis and medicinal cannabis. There's lots of different strains, and some people will use some strains and feel better on those strains because another strain might give them anxiety, or another strain takes away their anxiety. So there is no difference between medical and recreational cannabis except for the label that's put on it.
That's it.
But otherwise, there's no difference, and you can treat yourself just as easily with a bag of recreational cannabis as you can with a bag of medical cannabis.
And people do.
And they do. And people are treating themselves medically every day themselves with stuff that they grow on the black market.
What's funny,
on the
though?
black market.
It's interesting to me, at least, that there isn't, herbal medicines and all different kinds of medical practices. Once upon a time, by human beings, they would have been passed down generation after generation with a direct kind of knowledge and experience of how they work. I think that today, the cannabis scene and the cannabis culture here doesn't really function in the same way.
We don't have the same...
Well, no one's just spending.
We don't have the knowledge of like what's going to be really good for us.
We don't have the generations. Like the Aboriginal people have a lot of information, but nobody listens to them.
I reckon.
Like everyone and please don't everyone get angry at me when I'm going to say this, but majority of the time Aboriginals or the Indigenous are treated like a bunch of drunks, just like cannabis users are treated like a bunch of stoners, and nobody takes them seriously. They all treat them as if they don't know what they're talking about, and they should just go back and live out in the sticks.
Even though they have the wisdom.
It really pisses me off because a lot of the Aboriginal elders have got like knowledge that would save this bloody country, would save this planet, and we just need to start listening. We need to shut the fuck up sometimes and listen to other people, because it's the quiet people, the ones with the knowledge, they're the ones that will save us.
We need to get them to have a podcast or a couple.
Yeah,
the Indigenous podcast, and get them to share the wisdom.
We need some. That would be another great thing to do. Get some of the Indigenous healers and stuff like that to start talking.
Have you heard about Deeping Creek? There's basically an occupation occurring just south of Ipswich where a bunch of land developers, A.V. Jennings and Frasers, are deciding to just like roll over a graveyard and an ancient burial site.
Oh no!
So
fuck them.
This is actually something that's being fought
if they do
against.
that.
I reckon
they
so,
will be cursed forever if they do that. That money will be cursed forever.
Yep.
That,
and a lot of it is dark money already,
Oh,
what
they
swells through their coffers.
Developers, I tell you, there's a few good ones, but there's not many good ones.
I hear that, and it's a lot of the state policy making which is tied up with all the
government. The government has gone too far.
Oh yeah,
like they have just gone fucking insane. The stuff that they're doing now and that they're trying to get away with is just ridiculous.
Bullshit.
Like they are raping this country. Like
you literally said that
completely
before you
exploiting it.
Like they are just raping it. They're selling off our water and they're selling us off to the Chinese.
Correct.
Where like ScoMo, that's what he's basically doing. ScoMo is selling us all off to the Chinese to as much as he possibly can, and then as soon as he's done, he's gonna fuck off overseas, just like Turnbull has. They're gonna fuck off and live somewhere else because they're gonna think Australia's shit. We're not gonna live there because they've just sold us all off to the fucking Chinese.
Yeah, straight up.
Like you hear they sold is it Dairy Farmers or one of the bloody milk companies? They sold Bellamy's, I think the baby formula company.
Yep.
So all that baby formula that Chinese were stealing off our shelves, we're not even gonna get that anymore because that's probably gonna go directly to fucking China. So they're not gonna have to worry about stealing off our shelves because we're not gonna get it anymore. We're gonna be desperately trying to fucking we'll be going over to China to fucking steal off their fucking shelves, and we'll be getting arrested and fucking hung over there for it. Do you know what I mean? It's just bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. They've just bought some port somewhere, I've heard. They've the Chinese
up in Darwin,
they've just been fucking given the lease for $1 for some fucking 1,000-year lease or something like that, and
it was 100 years.
And
I think that's the funny thing
about
$1. The funny thing about all of the I guess foreign ownership that's happening in Australia, I think it could be managed like sustainably, basically. You don't have to say no one from overseas can own land in Australia and that doesn't have to be like the only solution to the problem. But it seems like we've just completely lost touch with reality, and so have our representatives, because we don't as Australians acknowledge that the people currently in power have created this problem. If there's a whole load of people who vote for one nation and talk about foreign ownership and talk about immigrants and blah blah, well, it's the Liberal National Party that you voted in for the past however many elections.
And that's the problem. It's like, it's like they sort of say, we hate this foreign ownership and shit, but Pauline Hanson always sides with fucking Liberals.
Yeah, fuck oath, exactly.
So it's like, well, who are you? Are you for the people or aren't you? Because you say you're for the people when you're getting up there in front of it, but when it actually comes to voting in Parliament and stuff like that, you're fucking selling out all the time. Just like Jackie Lambie just recently. Like, what the actual fuck? I want to know what fucking deal she got.
Yeah,
like, what
straight
the
up.
fuck? What did she get for that?
Deal?
What did she get?
Yeah.
Stop. And see, this is why I won't go into politics. This is why. Everyone says to me, you should go into politics. That's why I won't.
It's fucking
because when someone
frustrating.
offers me a deal like that,
Yep.
I'd be out straight away with a press conference. Guess what? That fucker asked me a fucking deal. He offered me a fucking deal. He was going to offer me a fucking deal. We'll sell out to you bastards. And so I would never, ever get anywhere in politics
Oh, that's
because
so
people
true.
wouldn't trust me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I wouldn't do that shit. If I'm going to go in there to represent the people, I'm not going to fucking sell out.
You're already representing the people, Jenny.
Yeah, and I can do a better job outside.
Yeah.
Because once you get in, you just get sucked
put
in
through a
by it all.
system.
You get sucked in and you just get drawn into it and you become one of them and you can't help it because
Yep.
one person can't change everything from the
Correct.
inside.
Look at Peter Garrett. I mean,
That
he
poor
tried.
bastard.
Yeah.
He tried, and look what they've done to him. They've absolutely tortured that poor bastard. He tried, but there's only so much you can do. And he
Yep.
tried to save his own skin at the end.
Yep,
And it's like, I
he
don't
did.
fucking blame him.
Yep.
He fucking wanted to get something out of it. He wasn't doing it for nothing.
For
you know,
sure. And
his-
I mean, that's why you go into politics, right?
Yeah.
Because you want something.
You want something,
And that's the weird
that's
thing.
why, and that's the problem with all the politicians at the moment. They've forgotten about the average person,
Yeah.
and they're just doing what they
I
need to
reckon-
do at the time. So they all come in, they sort out everything that they need that will help them and their family
Uh-huh.
and their friends, and and it's like, okay, we've got all this done. Okay, we can fuck off now. Don't care about anybody else.
Yep.
And that's what they're all doing. And if you look at them, if you look carefully at the politicians and what they've done, how they've voted, and the way they've behaved, you can see it's very, very obvious. And it's like,
sure.
at first I was sort of thinking, nah, I'm just imagining that.
Nah.
But then Turnbull, like while I watched Turnbull, it was like, holy fuck,
Straight
I
up.
can't believe what this guy's doing.
Matrix.
And it's like, and I'm warning everyone saying, watch him, and he's just merrily going along, just gathering up as much stuff for himself and his wife and his family. And it's like, are you going to make a lot of money? Here you go. You can have some money, and you can have some money. Are we ready? Okay, let's go. Fuck off. He didn't care that he got taken over.
No.
He didn't care that fucking.
He was already rich
ScoMo.
anyway.
That's what he wanted. He wanted to be able to fuck off and be able to fuck off in a way that he looks like the poor bastard, like not voted out in a fucking absolute
Oh, yeah.
massacre, because that would have looked shocking for. And he knew if he'd stayed in, he would have been voted out. So by the way he got taken out, that was the best way he possibly could, because it's all poor Malcolm.
That's
poor
public
Malcolm.
image
He got
stuff.
stabbed in the back.
You know what I mean? Like, Murdoch is behind Malcolm and ScoMo.
fuck yeah.
Because if you think about it, the Labour spill that happened between Rudd and Gillard, they got fucking grilled for that. They got out of government for that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Gillard has been one of the best fucking prime ministers we've had
Yeah,
in
she's
a
gotten
long
more
time.
done than anyone else in the last 20.
She's fucked up a couple of times.
Yeah.
She fucked up a couple of times, but she was trying to do the best she could. Like I just said, she was one of those one people,
Yep.
just the one person in there trying to change everything when everyone else around her was assholes.
Straight up.
So she did the best she fucking possibly could in amongst a bunch of assholes.
And you know what's funny about that? I think that, well, we try to make change within the systems that already exist, right? The systems that exist are like political power is within the hands of a few. It's within the hands of the elite and the representatives who are supposed to represent us. But really, that's a situation that's developed because everyday people have decided, we don't have to deal with politics. We'll leave that to the experts.
Yeah.
The experts don't know shit about our
That's
everyday
right.
lives.
And we need
to
the
recognise
everyday people to stand up and say something. See, this is,
Yep.
and I'm going to have some people out there getting angry at me, but basically what this government does is they keep us stupid.
Uh-huh.
So they give us drugs, the pharmaceutical medications
feed
to
us
try and
shit
keep
in
us
the
stupid.
media.
They give us shit in the media. They give us all these fucking video games. And that's one of the biggest, like, video games are one of the biggest things to me, because the amount of time people waste sitting on those fucking things playing those things when they could
Guilty.
actually be doing something, and
Totally.
they're addictive, and and people say, oh, they're not addictive. Fuck yes they are. Yes they are. Like I've got a slightly addictive personality, and if I play any of those games and I get into those games, I can't, like, I'll be doing other things and I'll
Tell
be
you
thinking,
what,
oh, I've got to go back and I've
Before
got
I
to do
had
this. And
a cannabis addiction, I had a League of Legends addiction.
Yep.
I had a multiplayer online.
I try
game
not to play any of those games, right?
Yeah.
So because like I had a partner that was just like addicted to them and would completely ignore me, and it was fucked, and so I thought, I'm not going to play those fucking games. And then fucking Facebook came along with its fucking Farmville or something, right? And no shit, I thought, no, that's all right. It's just a little farming thing. It's nothing. And I got fucking addicted to that thing, and
Yeah.
I was farming night and fucking day, and I was doing other people's crops, and I was fucking making so much money, and I had fucking my whole
Hustling.
farm. And I looked at it one day and I thought, you fucking idiot.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
look how much time you spent on that. And I looked outside and my kangaroos are sitting out there, and I'm thinking, you fucking idiot. And it's like, that's what they want.
Yeah, it
Yep.
is.
That's what they want, because while you're playing those games, you're not thinking about what's going on on outside.
Attention, because you're giving your attention to them voluntarily, and they actually profit from that attention.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to give your attention to something, give it to something that you think will be worthwhile.
Yeah, because
you know?
it's most of these things are just distractions, and that's what they're counting on. It's just you're going to be distracted, and you're not going to see what's actually happening. So while most people were sitting playing Fortnite or fucking Pokemon and shit like that, and wandering around and bumping into things and fucking smashing into things in the fucking street because they were fucking too busy watching their fucking phone and these imaginary fucking Pokemon shit. I stayed at this house one day and there was a Pokemon tower across the road, and I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on because people would just be walking up and just staring up, sort of thing, and looking at their phones and staring up. I had people, guys would just be sitting there like bobbing down on the edge of the street, and it was like, what the fuck is going on? And then someone said to me, oh, it's a Pokemon tower, and I went, what, where? And I was like, I can't see a tower, and it's like, oh no, it's a game, and it's like, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And it was like, and like hundreds of people would come.
You wouldn't believe, like when the whole Pokemon thing launched, I went to South Bank, and how many people were there? There were thousands. Thousands of people, everyone on their phone. And when I was walking through it, I was like, fuck, I'm in the Matrix. Like,
well, this is what I mean. It was like, this was just a random street, right? It was actually a school. It was like it was across from a school. No, it was just out of the city, but it was like just a suburb, like normal suburb sort of thing. And it was a school. Yeah. Right. So you imagine, you normally see sort of people dropping off their kids and stuff like that. But then like it was literally like at least 100 people a week would come through. So at least, 2 or 3 a day, sometimes 10 a day, sometimes 15 a day.
Yeah.
It's just like, these random people just walking up and just standing staring up into nothing.
There have been a lot of
and that's what freaked me out was they would stand
about it, actually.
They would stand there and stare, and there's nothing up there, you fucking idiot. It's like, why are you just standing there staring at nothing? Like, what the fuck? And I thought these people were on drugs at first until it was like, oh no, it's a Pokemon tower.
Druggies are a little more
and it's like, and I'm saying like, but is there something up there that they can see? I said, because they're all looking. It's like, no, it's just because that's where like in the game, it's up there, sort of thing. And it's like, it's like that's weird.
It is weird.
But like, I mean, I don't play a lot of these games, but, like I've heard about Grand Theft Auto and, and like kids getting aggressive playing those things and then like basically there was one story I heard about this fucking kid that was like playing Grand Theft Auto, and his brother just came up to him and just sort of said, oh, how's it going? Can I play something? And he just turned around and just punched him in the face. And it's like, this kid was not normally aggressive or anything like that, but because he was so in the moment and so in the game, and it was like, oh, fuck, he sort of comes out. Once he punches the brother, he realised, oh, shit, I'm sorry, mate, But it was just like, you get drawn into these things.
It's like
and
when you're watching a horror movie, right? Like you're sucked in, and then
that's
it gets
the other
you
ones,
shot.
the fucking movies. Like all these people that sit there watching fucking movie, or like everyone says, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? It's like, nah. Like all the fucking cannabis movies. Everyone, have you seen this? It's like, nah.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, I've got shit to do. I can't sit there for 2.5 hours and watch a fucking TV screen. Like, fuck, no way. I would have jumped up 5 or 6 times during that and gone and done something. And it's like, I'll come back in a minute. Just pause that for a minute. I'll just race off and do this and come back. And it's like I'm a mess. I'm not, but it's like I can't sit down. It's like when there's things to do, and especially it's been since my raid as well, because I'm just like hyperactive,
on edge,
hypersensitive, hyperactive, and it's like my brain is going like a million miles.
Did you ever like smoke and just relax?
If I smoke myself stupid, then I can slow it down a little bit. But the brain's still like ticking away in there.
I'm pretty. My brain's.
I get 2 hours sleep a night usually.
Whoa.
But that's all my brain will switch off for is 2 hours at a time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I try and no, not really.
Yeah. Wow.
And sometimes it'll only be like 1 hour and 40 minutes or something like that. But 2 hours is max that I can usually get at night.
Goodness. My mum's
I try and nap during the day as well if I can sort of nap sometimes during the day as well. But it's awful, and it's been like it was getting like that towards the end, even before I got raided. It was getting like that because I was just working so hard, like because I had so many people on a waiting list, so many people begging for help. I was pumping out like 100 grams of FECO a week on my own, and that's a lot for on your own. And that's not just making the oil, extracting it, that's making up the capsules, making up the syringes of fucking suppositories and shit like that. It was like so much work, and like just the capsules, it would take me an hour to do about 50 capsules, I think, to like individually dose the capsules sort of thing. And
right. Yeah.
So it would take about an hour to do about 50 capsules, and I was doing like hundreds and hundreds of capsules.
That's a lot of labour.
So it was like, so like I would be literally, so I'd, have someone to soak, and so while that's soaking I'm doing capsules or, this, and then, so then I'll put the next process of the FECO, and then I'm doing more capsules while I'm doing that, and then so as I'm doing one process of something else, I'm doing other things as well. So I was literally working full on, and it was killing me. Yeah. So I think it was like the universe's way of like saying, okay, you got to stop now.
Slow down, yeah.
Yeah, because it was just getting ridiculous, and because I couldn't say no. That was the worst thing. I just couldn't say no. But towards the end, it got to the point where there were just so many people that I was just mainly doing kids. Like I still had a lot of like other people, like adults, on my books that I was still looking after, and I didn't just stop doing anyone. It was just like, I will still help you, but I've either got to cut back a little bit and ease up, because some people were just getting a bit stupid with it as well.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I started, when I first started, I helped some people that were just pain, and just not real bad pain, but just like a bit of back pain and stuff like that.
Minor.
And you could tell the ones that really were genuine and the ones that were just abusing it, because the ones that were genuine would hold it down, hold their doses down as much as possible, and only increase them when they absolutely had to and shit like that. But then I had people that were just fucking every 5 minutes they were increasing. It's like, I need more, and it was like, no, you need to slow down. It's like, well, if you're running out, then you're going to have a day when you're going to be in a bit of pain, because I can't be just giving you more and more and more. And like some people were expecting like 30 or 40 grams like a month, and it's like, that's a lot for just someone who's just got a bit of pain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there were a few people that I did end up cutting off.
That's oil too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's FECO, full extract.
Wow.
How much bud would you have to use to generate, say, 10 grams or 30 grams?
Oh, geez, it really depends on what you're using, if you're using just the buds or if you're using trim and stuff like that. So I was probably, because I was using a mix of buds and trim.
Yeah.
So I think I was doing about, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was probably getting about 6 pound, probably 6 or 7 pound, because I would just dump a whole stack in I had the big 20 litre stainless steel stock pots, and I had like probably about 6 or 7 of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then all the little ones as well, like the 10 litre ones or something.
Yeah.
So, and I would just like have a whole stack of them and just fill them up, sort of thing. So I didn't really ever keep track of exactly how much, but it was usually about 4 to 6 pound, and I was getting anything between 50 to 100 grams out of it, depending on how long you soak it. Like that's the other thing, right? Everyone says, you just soak it for a little bit. So you basically put it in for half an hour, give it a bit of a shake, and it's like, fuck that, no way. Yeah. And like people will freak out when they found out. I would soak mine for sometimes a week. And but I'd get heaps of chlorophyll, like, because you get chlorophyll out of it. That's the only thing. That's why people would say don't soak it that long. You get chlorophyll out of it. It's like, but all you have to do is stick it in the sun, and that gets rid of the chlorophyll. So it's like, and that way you get shitloads more oil out of it. So at first, this is the thing. At first, when I first started, I was listening to everybody else. I would listen to the Rick Simpson protocol. I listened to how long people were telling me to soak it for.
Sure.
And all that sort of shit. And I was doing shit oil.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to myself and thinking, okay, common sense, and let's just try this out and see what happens. And so then one time, actually, it was a bit of a mistake how I found out that you could get so much out of it by soaking it longer, because I fucked up and I just had a pot there that I forgot was there. I had like 4 pots or something, and I only put I thought there was only 3. One of them was sort of hidden sort of underneath things, something had fallen down on top of it. And so I'd taken the first 3 and done those after I think it was a day or something. I'd let them soak, or 6 hours or something. So I'd taken those and I was doing the usual strain and everything, and completely forgotten about this other one. And it was only about a week later that I found it, and I thought, oh shit, oh no, what am I going to do, sort of thing, And oh fuck it, I'm not going to waste it. I'll just use it for myself,
Yeah.
And so I stuck it out in the sun, got rid of the chlorophyll out of it, and then extracted it, and I just got so much out of it. I thought, holy fuck, I probably got at least twice as much more out of that one pot that I got out of the first 3 that I'd just done. And I thought, holy shit, I wonder if that's just from soaking it more, sort of thing. And I thought, okay, let's try this again. So the next time I let it sit there for a week, and fuck me. And so at first I was getting like about 50 grams or something out of it, out of what I was doing. And when I was soaking it for a week, I was getting 100 grams out of it. So I was doubling my yield just from letting it sit for a bit longer.
And
it's
the
same.
Potency was the same?
Hey?
And potency was like...
No, it was stronger.
Stronger?
Yeah, it was stronger as well.
Stronger and more?
Stronger and more oil out of it. Much stronger, much stronger, and much more oil out of it. And it's exactly the same for the coconut oil. Like, I've got people that say about doing butter and coconut oil and just doing it for 6 hours or something like that, or 8 hours or something, or 12 hours, or 24 hours.
Right.
If you need minimum, don't.
Don't decarb?
Well, it depends on what you're making it for. If you're making it for medicine, you don't ever decarb your oil, your cannabis first. Because when you're making like medicine, you want your precursors. So you want your THCAs and your CBDAs and stuff like that. You decarb first, you destroy all those, and all you're doing is basically get stoned out of it. So if you want it for butter, like for edibles and shit like that, just to get wrecked, then decarb and get wrecked away. But if you want to make it for medicine, for edibles for medicine, or for oil or anything like that, then don't decarb it first, and only do it on a low heat. So when I do the infusions, the coconut oil, because there's more than just coconut oil. Like, people think of just the coconut oil infusion, but it depends on what you're treating. So for a coconut oil infusion is good for like a lot of different conditions, like the epilepsies and the stomach conditions and all those sort of things. But it's also the way of getting it into the organs quicker. So coconut oil is a carrier oil for organs. That'll get it to organs. But if you want to get it to the blood, so you've got, say, leukemia, blood cancer, or something in the lymph system, like cancer in the lymph nodes and stuff like that, then you use a olive oil, and that will get it into the blood better than it will get it into the organs. And so there's different carrier oils that will do different things and get it to different parts of your body, and that means you can treat it more effectively. And see, that was something I learned along the way. And at first I was just doing everything the way that everyone told me to. So I followed the Rick Simpson protocol, and my dad had cancer, and he was the first one I did a cancer with, and I followed the Rick Simpson protocol, and he died.
Yeah.
And I thought, fuck this for a joke. And so that's when I started looking into it myself and realising that, okay, there's no time for the Rick Simpson protocol. This fucking grain of rice size bit that you start off with and you slowly increase, and it takes 90 days to do it. It's like most people that have got cancer and they're dying haven't got the 90 days to get to that point, to get that into the system. They need to get in quickly. So when people are that sick, then we need to use suppositories on them, because that's the most effective way of getting it into the system quickly. But you can also use shitloads more, because you can take, as a suppository, you can take 10 times more of a dose as you can take orally.
Yeah.
So we would have people that could only take a grain of rice orally, but we could shove a half a gram up their ass and absolutely have no effects and destroy that tumour. Yeah. But we did it slowly so that we didn't destroy the liver either. So even though we'd give them a lot, we would do it slowly. So we would start off with half a gram, but we would do half a gram like every third day. And then after about 5 days, we'd say half a gram every second day. And then it'd be after another 5 days, half a gram every day. And then after that, it'd be like every third day, 1 gram. And then every second day 1 gram, and then just slowly increasing it. So we're not just slamming them with 1 gram a day, which we could have with the suppositories, because they wouldn't have had any effect on them.
Oh, for sure.
But it would have fucked their liver. So you have to be careful, and you have to know what you're doing.
And error, I suppose.
Or research.
Yeah.
Mixture of the both, really.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but a lot of the time, like I said, you shouldn't be playing around with it until you've done the basic research.
I hear that, yeah.
So, and I've done a lot of the research now, so, you know, it's like once, because I'm doing a book, so I am actually writing a book with all this stuff in it. Once that's out there, then people can just refer to that, and they can, and I'm going to put my own protocol in there. Like the Rick Simpson protocol is the 30 grams over 30 grams over 60 days. 90 days.
90.
Hang on, say that again. No, 60 grams over 90 days.
That sounds about right.
My protocol, if you're using good oil, and I mean good oil, you can destroy tumours with 20 grams in 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
A third of the time with a third of the amount. That's how effective it is. And that's what I was doing towards the end.
Yeah.
Just destroying brain tumours, destroying cancers with a third of the amount that the Rick Simpson says you could.
So you reckon that getting this information out there, writing a book, could potentially allow people to follow your protocol and do that?
Definitely, but a lot of people already know it. Like anybody who's asked for it, I've given it willingly already. So my recipes are out there for my oils, my coconut oil, like in detail about, you know, how and why that I do the things that I do. And, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of things that I learned over the years that, like, a lot of people don't realise, but it makes a massive difference with your oil. Yeah. Like, you know, if you want different levels of different things, you know, you can do different things to get that out. Like, if you want higher CBN's really good. If you want higher CBN, then you age your cannabis by 6 months and you really let it dry out.
Right.
So it goes almost like a powder, and then you'll get higher levels of CBN out of it.
Right.
So the average yield was supposed to be about 6 to 8% CBN from most people's oils, but I was getting, I think, 16 to 18% just by aging it a little bit.
Is
and
that like
it
once
out.
it's dry or like while it's growing?
No, once it's dried. So once you pull it,
so
like a lot of people will cure
like...
it. Yeah, well, see, most people will cure it and just keep it nice and keep some of the moisture content in there, and you don't want that for CBN.
Yeah, so you just want to leave it out.
So we put it in Hessian sacks, so it's protected from anything, any dust or anything like that, but it's breathing.
Great.
And it's drying out completely, and so by the time the 6 months is over, you tip that out and it just crumbles in your hand. It's just, and so yeah, it's just insane. And then, like I said, I was just getting massive levels of that, and so, you know, I could see the difference in like the results that I was getting from it. Like when I got better at when I first started making it, it was good. You know, it was good and it did okay. But once I got better at it and I'd researched it more and got better at making it, and, you know, you could just see the difference in it and see how good it was.
Wow.
But, you know, and so my recipe's out there, but one of the things that, I sort of say to people is it's all well and good to have the recipe, but it also comes down to strains.
Yep.
And so if you're just using shitty bushweed, then you're not going to get the same results as if you're using a decent strain. And one of the things that made mine so good was it was a Jack Herer, and the Jack Herer is one of the best medical strains. But I wouldn't just use one strain. I would mix sometimes up to 7 different strains together, because every strain of cannabis has a different profile of cannabinoids, different levels of different cannabinoids.
Right.
And so you'll get a certain benefits out of that particular strain.
So it
but
became
if you mix say 5 or 6 ones together, then you're evening out your cannabinoid profile, and you're pretty much getting more of an even medicine. So if you want something that's going to treat a lot of different things, if you're doing it to help other people and you're not just doing it to help yourself in a specific thing, if you're doing it for a general population type thing that you're selling or whatever out there, then you want to do something that's going to help as many different conditions as what you possibly can, and so you want an even level of those
So
cannabinoids.
it's like a multivitamin.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of, yeah.
A multivitamin cannabis.
Yeah. Well, cannabis is a multivitamin. That's what people need to realise. It's just like every other thing that we put in our system, because we have an endocannabinoid system. Cannabinoids feed the endocannabinoid system, so it's just like anything else that we're just putting back in our body. So we have to stop thinking as something that's an outside thing. We produce THC in our systems ourselves.
Yeah,
when we
it's
exercise and we get that euphoric feeling from exercise, that's from a natural THC.
Yep.
There's natural THC in breast milk.
It's part of the homeostatic functioning of the whole body. Like, we would just be veering off in weird directions.
And that's why people, like a lot of people, have problems they think now are associated with like the endocannabinoid system, like fibromyalgia and stuff like that.
Yep,
they
I've heard of
think
that.
is something that's because, people have a starving endocannabinoid system.
Wow.
So, but that's just all conjecture at the moment, and we'll find out, because like there's so much research that still needs to be done.
Yeah,
We've got a long, long way to go. We
like
know
saying,
nothing about it so far, really.
It's the ability to really enter into the scientific literature with a bit of honesty. I feel like there's been a lot of obscuring.
That's the worst. That's the biggest problem that we've got at the moment, is because every time a scientific study is done, it's funded by somebody.
Yeah.
And whoever it's funded by, it'll be skewed towards whatever they want.
Yeah.
And until we can get some really, like,
CSIRO grade stuff.
Yeah, that no one's having anything to do with it. It's just being funded by the public or something like that.
Right.
That's why we need this non-for-profit thing going.
I'm with you.
But that's like, studies like that are going to cost millions, like $2 or $3 million to put a study like that up. But if we really put our minds to it, we could do shit like that. Like if we said to the public, okay, let's start with, say, the return servicemen, the ones that all got the PTSD that are killing themselves. Like there are so many fucking ex-soldiers killing themselves at the moment. Now we know that it works for PTSD. Let's do a study. Let's help these old guys and, some young guys still that are coming back with horrific injuries and shit and that are freaking out over the stuff they've been through. Let's do something for them, and let's do one of the first clinical trials ourselves, and let's get it funded by the people out there. We've got the RSL would no doubt help out, because it's helping their people. So, it's those sort of things. If we can think smart, we can do this ourselves. We don't need the government.
Yeah,
if we can just get some money behind us, fuck the government. They can't stop us.
Yeah.
They can't. If we can present all the clinical trials ourselves and say, well, there you go, you wanted a clinical trial, here's this one, and here's this one, and here's this one. There is no reason to stop it. So we need one of the first ones we need is for kids. We need a clinical trial to show that THC does not damage these kids. It doesn't damage their developing brain and shit like that.
There's a lot of studies out there that it's kind of conjecture, but they talk about how cannabis can impede the development of the brain.
Well, that was a lot of those studies, like I said, and it all comes back to who's funded them.
Yeah.
Were funded by pharmaceutical companies and shit like that. But there was just been one released just recently that was done from a more of a open source.
Yeah.
And that actually came out and said there is no evidence that cannabis damages the developing brain. There is no evidence. There is no change. There is no difference in development and stuff like that. But what shits me out of that is most of these kids are really sick, and most of these kids need it so badly because they're going to die.
Yeah.
So what's the fucking point? They're not going to have a developing brain if they're dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's just keep them alive, and who gives a shit if they're a bit slower than the kid sitting next to them? Do you know what I mean? This is what I mean. This is the whole bullshit of the whole system.
Not dealing with the side effects of different treatments in a holistic fashion either.
Yeah.
Just saying, you can get onto the pills, but the stuff that's illegal, cannabis, all of that, don't even give it a second look. And if you do, then your father, who's been looking after a sick, debilitated child and has all of these medical bills to pay, now has to face the legal system. Mm-hmm. It's all of these barriers that prevent people from getting the care they need.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
like I said, like they basically say here in Queensland that no children under 25 years old, and I hope people realise that, they still considered people under 25 years old children.
Yeah.
So no children under 25 years old should have cannabis.
What the hell?
Because it damages the developing
All right,
brain.
I should stop.
So as a 24-year-old, you're still considered as someone that shouldn't be using
I'm
cannabis.
22.
So this is what I mean. You're baby, darling.
I am
You're
a baby.
And it's going to do it. It's going to damage your
I
developing
don't think
brain.
you're going to know how to ride anymore after a few more years.
I'll just
you're
be
going to start
brain dead.
reverting back to fucking childhood. But this is what I mean. It's just the ridiculousnly of it. Like I said, a lot of these kids that I was helping were dying. They were going to die.
Yeah.
So so who gives a shit if they've got
Points.
some weed?
Yeah.
Like a lot of these kids were non-verbal, like couldn't speak at all when I started helping them.
And then they start
after starting
speaking.
using it, they start speaking and get back to school and shit like that. So it's
Yeah.
like, you tell me it's damaging their brain. Their fucking brain was damaged by the pharmaceutical shit that you've been giving them. You were frying their brain. The cannabis has fucking woken them up, and you're telling me that's bad for them? It's like it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it all comes back to pharmaceutical companies making lots of money, don't want us have it because it'll ruin their profits, and that's what
I'm
it
sure
all
there are
comes
some
down
people who really benefit from those meds, who have like the right context, it works for them, etc.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there are some people out there, but
the fact that everyone
but
is
it might
funneled
work
into
for
that.
them. It might work for them, and they might get the results in the sense that it stops their seizures or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're still getting the side effects.
They are. You're right.
They're
yeah.
still suffering those side effects,
That's true.
and they wouldn't have those side effects if they were using the cannabis.
Yeah, especially for seizures and other treatments.
Yeah. And like it's not just like some people don't even realise how bad some of these other medications are, or even where they came from. Like a lot of people don't realise warfarin, the blood thinner warfarin, right, came from rat sack.
Oh wow.
They realised that rat sack, the poison, rat poison.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that's how rat sack works. It thins the blood of these animals, and if they bump themselves or hurt themselves, then they bleed out because they bleed and they can't stop bleeding because they won't clot, won't let them clot. So they realised that. So then they realised, okay, we can use that on humans. So then they rebranded it and put it in medications. They use it for humans now. Chemo drugs, the chemotherapy drugs, was actually mustard gas.
Yeah.
Some of the chemotherapy drugs were mustard gas, and they've just rebranded them and done that. There was quite a few drugs that Monsanto, like weed killers and shit like that Monsanto made, that ended up getting turned into drugs.
Yeah.
And like they're chemicals.
They are.
They're not even plant-based. They're chemicals.
Synthetics, yeah.
Yep, and they've turned them into drugs because they can see, if it does this to animals and it's killed all these animals or done that, then we can use it on humans.
Yeah,
so it's like, hang on a minute, but what bad shit is it doing?
Yeah.
But they don't care. It's like, we can use this. We can make money out of this.
It's such a corrupt system. I mean, I'm sure that, again, people working within those systems that mean well, all the best, but yeah, we have to close this up, don't we?
Yeah, it's getting a bit late.
Well, that's okay. Thanks for coming on to our podcast, Jenny.
We'll have to do it again.
fantastic. Yeah,
There's so much more to talk about. I think we didn't even just chip the iceberg.
No.
Chip the tip of the iceberg, did we?
Yeah.
I think we just singed the top of it off with the lighter,
Blue
I think.
Porch, yeah.
We didn't even start an intro. We just went.
We just started
We
talking.
just went, I'll add one in later. How
That's
about
all right.
that will
Well, I'm
work.
going to have to come back in a couple of days and do it all over again then, aren't I?
Oh, that would be
sounds good.
fantastic. Let's get that going.
Got plenty of time, so
Cool.
happy to give it. And like, there's so much that we need to talk about, and there's so much that needs to be done.
We need to
Yeah.
get information out. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
We're all about that. We're the media wing.
The whole thing we've done with Fab. The reason I really started it was, about PGR, yeah?
Oh, of course.
You've seen our fuck PGR stickers?
Yes, of course.
It's doing some stuff.
We're-
It's fucking working.
Makes
It's
an
good.
impact, yeah.
The whole premise of why I started Fab was to put an article up about it. I took the information from someone else who knew way fucking more than me, but he never included any pictures or an identification. There we go.
Yep.
About anything and all that. So I just wanted to turn it into a guide, and that's what blew up our whole site, right?
Yeah.
And it's
people
because
want that info.
people
They
needed
wanna
to know
know.
about it, and they wanted to share it with their friends. We've now got someone here who has more experience than us, like 20 times over, right? We need to get what's in your head out to the general public
Straight
and get
up.
them to read
We
it.
need your mind.
Yep.
Read
Jenny.
it,
happy
get
to do
audio,
that.
like everything. We need to
Because
get
that's
this
what I've
out.
been all about, is like getting information out there. Like, there's a lot of other oil makers out there that were pissed off when I put the recipes out because it meant that they lost customers.
Yeah.
Because people were making it themselves. Because a lot of oil makers told everybody it's really hard to make. Oh, you need me to do it for you because you can't do this yourself. This is too hard.
Yeah,
you
it's
blow
pretty
yourself
grotty
up.
behaviour.
you'll blow yourself up, or
Jeez.
and they just wouldn't tell anybody how to do it. People would say, how do you do it? Oh, it takes you years to learn this
Trade
shit.
secret.
They would just make up fucking bullshit, And I came along and I would help people, but then I would teach people how to make it as well, so then I could stop helping them and they could go on and help themselves.
You can push them along.
Yeah, and so that was the whole idea of me at the moment. Like at the beginning, it was like I couldn't help everybody,
Yeah,
so
like
it
you
was
said.
like, let's teach as many as I could. And I got threatened when I first put the fucking recipes out there. Like people were threatening me, saying, you can't do that, we're going to lose customers. It's like, yeah, bummer.
Yeah, fuck you.
Because they're not customers.
Welcome
they're
to the
people.
free market, motherfucker.
Yeah, they're not customers, they're people.
Straight
and
up.
they can't afford to buy your shit at
Yeah.
$500 for 10 mils of something that you can make for $200 for a litre. And that's the coconut oil. There's people out there selling like 10 or 20 mils of the coconut oil for $500.
Far out.
And people can make a litre of it for the cost of a fucking an ounce and a jar of cannabis.
If they knew
coconut
how
oil.
and were game.
And all you have to do is get my recipe, and it's
Yeah.
a piece of piss. Slow cooker, cannabis, coconut oil, 24 hours, strain it, you're healed.
Awesome.
As easy as that. But we got plenty of time to talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
We'll
Next
get
time.
some stuff going.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you,
My
Jenny.
pleasure.
Catch you next time.
There will be a next time.
There will be a next time. Bye-bye.